fired up friends, and welcome back to my channel, Inner Flame Wellness. So this is the part 2 video where I wanted to talk about my hypothyroid symptoms after I had my thyroid ablated. And I feel like this is a good conversation to have to raise the level of awareness on what some of the symptoms are related to thyroid disease. So some of the hypothyroid symptoms that I experienced included things like weight gain. I know that this is a very common issue for anyone who has a thyroid problem. I definitely gained a lot of weight after my thyroid was destroyed, and I also noticed that I had a really slow recovery time after a workout, to the point where it felt like I would be sore for days. I also noticed my arms starting to get weaker and joint pain in my wrists. I also lost more hair, and instead of being hot all the time, I was cold all the time. And my tolerance to the cold was so low, it actually made me really cranky if I was cold and I couldn't get warm again. I also started to notice my skin becoming more dry, and that was really unusual because when I was younger, I had the oiliest skin. Even on my index fingers right here, they were incredibly cracked and dry, and it felt like no amount of lotion would help moisturize them. It felt like I was getting sick all the time. I had frequent colds, and I started to develop insomnia. So I remember a lot of nights where I would just be tossing and turning and unable to fall asleep. And this also affected my energy throughout the day, where I definitely had my fair share of nanonaps. So on top of being cold all the time, being tired, gaining weight, I also noticed that my digestion was starting to get affected, and I was struggling with more constant constipation, which was pretty unpleasant. I also noticed my brain function starting to get affected. So I would have a lot more brain fart moments. I mixed up words in my speech. I had a really hard time concentrating on simple tasks, and it was really hard for me to recall things from my memory. And even more strange than this, I felt like my personality was starting to change. So in college, I was in a sorority. In my sorority, I was voted the most social butterfly. So at that time, for me, being in a social setting, it was really comfortable, and I felt like I could hold a conversation with just about anyone. So a few years after college, I started to notice my social tendencies changing. And this isn't something that I've openly talked about with a lot of people, because it also took me some time to realize that I was changing in this way. But I also did my very best to try and hide it, and to try and hide this internal struggle that I had with myself. But I felt myself becoming overly self-conscious and starting to become more shy, which was unusual. And I also just lost my self-esteem and my self-confidence. So I know I covered a lot of the hypothyroid symptoms that I experienced, so just for a quick recap, I'm going to list them out for you again. So I had weight gain and slow recovery after exercise, weak arms and joint pain, especially in my wrists. I was cold all the time. I developed dry skin, including dry, cracked index fingers. I was frequently getting sick. I had insomnia and fatigue, digestive issues that included constipation. I had a lot of brain fog, and I was mixing up words in my speech. It was hard for me to concentrate and focus, and I also had poor memory. My personality was also starting to change to the point where I was developing low self-confidence and low self-esteem, and I started to become more shy and overly self-conscious. So I hope by talking about my symptoms that it helps you to better understand what some of the symptoms are related to a thyroid condition. And there might be some symptoms that I talked about that you didn't know were associated to a thyroid problem, which is why I felt it was important to make this video. There are so many symptoms that are related to a thyroid problem, and they are going to be unique to the individual. So if you're currently struggling with a thyroid problem or you're dealing with any of these symptoms, I totally feel for you. I've been there, and in my next video, I'm going to cover what are some of the things that helped me get my health back and also resolve a lot of these symptoms. So if this video helped you in any way and you'd like to follow along for more, consider hitting that subscribe button, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really is your support that makes all the difference, and I do appreciate it. As I like to say, you deserve to live your best life. That's it for this video, and I will catch you next time. Bye!